Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in as always. Now, I'm going to be talking about what's coming up every single day, energy wise. There's a lot of powerful energies coming in. The Virgo New Moon, we're going to start it off with this week. We are entering eclipse season, which is life changing. So, before I begin, I'm going to tell you all that I am going back live again here right on YouTube. Set your clocks, your dials, your calendars, whatever it takes, and offering free clairvoyant psychic readings. That's right. Now, Friday, September the 12th at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, or 11 a.m. Pacific. Join me right here live and ask me a question. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel to get these notifications. I'm on Instagram, Jenny G Cousins. I'm all over the place, but a lot more postings goes on Instagram than anywhere pretty much. So make sure you're following me. I'll follow you right back. We can connect, whatever. If you do want to book a private reading with me, soulworkwithjenny.com. So how many of you seriously are going to be there? Now, listen up, you guys. The 23rd to the 29th of August. I'm always saying this is a powerful time. Do you know why? Because it is. Like we are getting closer to the end of this year, like September. Like, oh my gosh. Like, seriously. This is a time you guys really, really, really have to prepare. Watch my last video when I talk about preparing for eclipse season because we're starting in on that this week. The eclipse season is starting on the 24th. You can see, if you're paying attention, certain changes deep in your soul you have to make. Nobody's perfect. We all have life lessons. We all have our destiny, why we're here, situations we have to resolve karmically. Earth is one of the most painful, or I should say, is the most painful planet to be on, because this is where we learn lessons, painful karmic lessons to clear and resolve. I can see into other people's lifetimes when you leave this lifetime. I read your past life Akashic records as well. So keep in mind that what you're not resolving karmically in this lifetime, you'll repeat it next lifetime. So we choose different lifetimes we want to come back on. We have our sessions, our conversations with our ascended masters, our soul group, God, our angels and guides. We pick different lifetimes. I still have some unresolved situations with this person, that situation from this lifetime and that lifetime. I got to come back next lifetime to resolve these situations, and so on and so on. That's why it's like there's some people, including myself, like I'm alone most of the time, right? I work through a lot of different things and so on and so on. We all have our own journey, and you got to remember what energy you send out to the universe, it comes right back to you. That's karma, law and effect, cause and effect, law of attraction, and so on. So, when somebody really deeply hurts you, it's like it can be really shocking, right? So I'm bringing this up for a reason, because this eclipse season, and you guys have seen certain painful situations already. Really pay attention. Really pay attention. I'll talk about that, more and more and more as we go on more other videos and such like that. And also I'm doing some classes. I'm putting classes together as well before I forget to let you, know ahead of time. There's a few different ones and such like that. It's not going to be out for a little while. I am working on it every day. So it's a process because I want it to be really good for you guys. Very simple, easy, and where you can build deep, profound awakening within your soul. But anyways, we're not going to go on about that right now because there's so much involved with that. Now listen, the 23rd, new moon in Virgo. We are in Virgo season. Happy birthday, Virgos. How many of you guys are Virgos? I always talk about certain astrology and such like that as well. I don't go deep, deep, deep involved because I read your energy more so right then and there. your level of consciousness with a lot of different insights. And so, but this Virgo new moons are very powerful. It's actually more powerful than a full moon because a new moon is like new beginnings. So what happens whenever there's new beginnings? There are endings. So this is why, if you guys reflect back, there's certain things that have ended. Or you're going to be like, I know that's going to be ending soon. This is universal 9 year, which is completion, endings. And endings and completion can be absolutely anything. Anything that's ending a relationship, a job, like whatever it is. So you're going to know where you're at. But I want you guys to really look back, even February this year. Where are you now? Like what's going on today? How many of you have been like, oh my gosh, I've been through a lot? This is a real spiritual year, a year of deep healing as well. This is why endings, healings, letting go, releasing, transmutation, transformation, the year of the snake, shedding the old skin to bring in the new skin. And you guys have seen a lot of truth being exposed, which is always going to continue. And it hurts more whenever we see that within our own family or friends or relationships. We're like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? That can be really, like, wow, that really hurt. Of course, when it's somebody that you thought you were friends with or a family member, maybe it was like your partner, whoever, and you're like, oh my gosh. So this energy is going to be bringing that up even more and more and more with this new moon in Virgo. So really, really pay attention to when you have that calling, you know what, I better go see that person. Something's telling me I better call them or see them or whatever. New moons bring on more passings, even with your animals as well. Our animals are very sensitive. They react to your energy. Not only just that, is there are psychics. They can see everything. Like I talk to the animals all the time. I'm also an animal communicator. So I talk to animals that have passed on. Like you'd be surprised how many messages per day I get in from the animal kingdom and your animals here in person. So you might find that when your animal is acting a little off, they might be perfectly okay because you're reacting to the energies and your energy, or really pay attention. If you're uncertain, get them checked out by all means. I would rather take my animal to the vet and say, is something's going on, and your vet says, okay, we'll do this and that, and you find everything's okay. I would rather have that and go through that than to like, I wonder. We're still going to be resolving and dealing with health situations as well. This is going to continue this week. Things are going to start to come full force to you, and also healing. So again, when you're feeling that pull to book medical appointments, do it. Make sure you do it. Get it checked. Might be nothing, or it might be like, we got to deal with this. Get it dealt with now. This year has really reflected a lot on health and such like that. My health has been up and down for just different reasons as well. There's a lot of clearing, and as we're healing and clearing karmic situations, especially ancestral wounds, old traumatic wounds from family and so on, our energies do go up and down with our health, right? Including mine as well. No matter, I can see in all of these things, sometimes we just get attacked by so-called family members and we're like, oh my God, really? Like, seriously? I haven't talked to you for years and all that, really? But you know what? Just sit back, observe, look at how far you've evolved, look how far you've come, because it's usually the black sheep in the family that get attacked the most. So you're going to see as we move into September, I'll talk about that, in the next video, but there's a lot of ancestral such going on next month. But well, I don't want to go too far ahead. That's why I talk about day to day more so. So now you're going to want to organize a lot more on this Virgo new moon. Like we're moving into, like, kids are going back to school. Some of you have been away on holidays. You're getting back into work, getting more into routines. So you're going to be preparing for things like that even more and more and more. And you're going to find that you're going to start to set new goals, even like the new moon, new goals, new intentions. It's a huge time for manifesting, right? Like huge, like every day right now, literally. And you'll find that, oh my gosh, I was just thinking of that, boom, all of a sudden that person calls. or I was just wanting to make this change. All of a sudden, you see a sign, all of a sudden this happens and that happens, and you're like, oh my gosh. So that's why it's really important to watch your thoughts, right? Your body reacts to your thoughts and so on and so on, right? So it can be a more emotional, your intuition is going to be a lot stronger, and really look at what lessons you have learned already. Yeah, but I'm still struggling. I get that. Like whenever we go through traumatic situations in our life, we can go up and down like that. That's normal. So you can't ever judge anybody. You can't. Well, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. This person is still going through that, or that's going on, or let it go. That's not your journey, that's their journey. You just really need to focus on you and your journey. So it's during this time you're going to be creating new things. You're going to be recreating new structures, building new foundations with this Virgo energy. So your sleep will be on and off, new moons, full moons, such like that, or sleep is on and off. We have these solar flares, which can, like, even the other day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this today. It was kind of more of a little day off. And I'm like, yeah, this is a great day. I can get these things done. And I had my breakfast or whatever, checked my messages, and then I just did something. And then all of a sudden it was like I got knocked down, like and I'm like, it was like this big wave. It was like my angelic team just, oh no, you're not. Oof. I literally was so exhausted, like in seconds. All I could do was lay in bed all day and just watch television. And I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing. I want to be doing all of these things and that. I couldn't. I was so tired. I could barely function. So pay attention, like really pay attention, because if we've been on the go, we're doing certain things, like your angelic team or your guides are going to be like, okay, enough of that. You need to just kind of chill. You need to relax. So this energy is going to continue on this week as well. You know, I'm just saying, listen to your body. Listen to your body, because you're going to want to be able to establish new habits and routines also on this new moon. Virgo's that is like that earth sign, so you're going to want to be more grounded and stuff and be more structured and everything. So even on the 24th and 25th of August, Mercury retrograde is finally over. It was over, but then we have that lingering energy that goes on for a couple of weeks. So it wraps up, that's a wrap up, everyone. Thank God Mercury retrograde is now over with, right? Like, thank God. So as we're entering the 24th and 25th, that was actually the 24th of August was my Irish Wolfhound McTavish. That was his birthday. For those of you who knew my Wolfhound McTavish, he passed away in 2014. I actually had him on my television show. When I brought McTavish, you guys know an Irish Wolfhound. They're like a 200-pound dog. He was over 7 feet tall whenever he stood on his hind legs. And I brought him in past security to the television studios. Security is just like, because you got to sign in for security. They're like, oh. So I had to bring him past my executive producers, and oh my God. Anyway, like, don't worry, he's a big baby. Like, he's just gonna lay here on the stage. And sure enough, that's what he did. But anyways, I can chat. I can chat forever. So let's get back to this. Now we're moving into Venus. Venus enters Leo on the 24th and 25th of August. Venus is love, relationships, expressing yourself. Leo, expressing yourself, making bold moves, more courageous, and so on. So really pay attention to what you're more passionate about. I always say follow your passions no matter what they are. I have different passions myself. One of them is photography. Here's a photo I took back here. You can find me on Jenny G Photography on Instagram. That's one of the places. I'm a little over the place. But anyways, really pursue what you're passionate about, because that really can open up new doors for you. It can, it's part of your soul's calling and soul's purpose. Most of us are old souls. So who we are and have been in other lifetimes, you're the same soul. You just came back in this lifetime as a male or female, born into a certain country, culture, religion, family, and so on and so on. So just really, really express more. You're going to express more. You're going to be taking more bold moves. You're going to be like working more on, I have different talents in this. We all have talents. We all have gifts and so on. We all do. I mean, I'm not like no scientist or like no doctor, so that's just not who I am. So you very well were going to see your soul's purpose even more, and you're like, I'm here, but I'd really like to be doing that. So this is when you pause. If you want to be going that direction, you're doing that. Why aren't you? Look into the steps. Maybe you need to take a course. So this is what you're going to be looking at even more and more and more. So you're going to find that you're going to make more commitments, these couple of days. But the number one commitment should always be to yourself. Always be to yourself. It's like commit your priorities to you. Like, what is your commitment towards you? So is it like committing towards a job, a goal, a health, like whatever it is? So really pay attention to that. And you might find that, like, wow, maybe I'm going to commit to my person because with that Venus energy, that's relationships in general. So you could be starting a new relationship that day. You could be like, I'm going to really commit to my person. Maybe some of you will get engaged, more of a commitment or so on. Yeah, let's step it up the next level. We're in eclipse season, officially in eclipse season. So you're going to be communicating a little better because that Mercury ended. Thank gosh. Mercury retrograde can cause all kinds of misunderstandings and so on. So, especially with Venus and moving on, you're going to communicate a lot better. And, there's certain crystals as well. Like I have my aqua aura crystal on. It's for communication, throat chakra, right? I'm doing a lot of communicating today and so on. So I just felt pulled towards this crystal to wear it. So pay attention to what crystals you're drawn towards. And also on the new moon, rejuvenize your crystals. Put them under the moon energy light outside or on a window ledge where the moon energy is like recharging those crystals and so on. And just pay attention to what crystals you get drawn to. Every morning I get up or whatever, and I'll know what crystals I'm just automatically drawn to. It's like they talk to me, right? Kenny over here, right? So, without going into details, of course, but I'm just saying you'll feel that pull because, you're going to find that your intuitive energies, your intuition has gotten much stronger, hasn't it? So really listen to that. Always listen to that. So the 26th and 27th of August, keep your heart open because there could be some incoming surprises coming in for you. I'm just saying, really pay attention to kind of what happens that day. The 26th and the 27th, like incoming surprises. It can be like unexpected situations as well. That's the day before my ultrasound. So, but anyways, so surprises, of course, can go any direction. Unexpected can go any direction. So when I know it's like a day, let's say, of like expecting unexpected or surprises, the first thing I do is, hey, I'm open to some wonderful, exciting opportunities, surprises that is best for my higher self, my highest growth and purpose, and so on, that are going to be in alignment with my soul. I immediately start changing that energy right there. 555, I've been seeing a lot, which is life changes. And I know there's certain things I'm going through. The eclipse, boom, oh my gosh, preparing you for life changes and so on. And I'm like, oh God, be with me. But, it's like staying positive as best as possible, surrendering it even more and more and more. So you might find that new people are going to be coming in that you're going to be meeting that are more in alignment with you. It could be new soul connections coming in, maybe, and that could be anybody for any situation or any purpose. So really pay attention to that. You're going to find that you could all of a sudden, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. You could be more spontaneous. Like, wow, thank you. Like breakthroughs with things. Oh, I've been so stuck on this and this and that. And boom, wow, that's the direction. Move towards the direction that feels right for you. So you might be doing things at the last minute. How many of you guys have had certain plans or whatever, and then all of a sudden, all of these plans are gone, and then you go a different direction, or you have to do this or that. I mean, that's life, right? That happens. So that very well could happen during that time. So you're going to be letting go of toxic situations. It could be toxic people, relationships. It could be toxic patterns or habits. Just self-destruct, just certain things like that. Maybe it's like you might have like a negative mindset. It's like then change it to the positive mindset. So it can be a very transformational time. So you very well will see your self-worth even more. So when we're just kind of getting, really, you're wanting me to do all these things? Really? Really? Just certain things like that. I don't get paid enough for that, or I don't deserve that, or, like I'm not going to get treated like that, like, whatever it is. So really pay attention to that, because it's really important for you to look back at how far you have come. We don't realize that at times, and we're just continuing living life and our day-to-day things or whatever. God, I don't feel like I'm moving forward. But really look back, beginning of the year and so on, and look at where you are now. Yeah, but I haven't completed. Well, of course you might not have completed everything. Of course not. Of course not. That's why it's like set short-term goals, set long-term goals. This is a year for making long-term goals. I'm working on long-term goals myself. I have been for a while, right? And there's always short-term goals that we can make, right? But make sure you prioritize what really needs to be done more than anything right now. So you will find as we get towards the 28th and 29th, you're going to be, I'm going to start taking more risks right now. I'm going to start taking more bold steps. You're going to find that you're going to be more focused on things, like no matter what it is. And it's also time to nurture yourself as well. You know how, like, when the spirit world knocked me down, oh no, you're not going to be doing any of that. No, we're just going to have you lay in bed all day and watch movies or whatever. Believe me, like it was just seconds. I just, like, what happened? It was instantaneously. And I'm like, what? But, this is the spirit world actually helping you, because we need our days of rest so we have the energy to work on other things or to do this or that. So you got to trust that in a way. So you're going to be looking back on lessons learned and so on and so on. You're going to be reflecting over a lot of different things. You're going to be like pulled towards a new direction, especially with work and your career. Maybe some of you guys are going to be putting together a new resume or CV that day. Maybe you're going to be like, September's around the corner here. I'm going to apply for that job, right? We've been prepping with the Virgo energy, getting back to work, getting our kids are getting back to school and so on. So you very well even might be starting a new job in September 1st. So you're going to be doing that, like, what direction am I headed to? Like even this, like, when was it, this morning, I think it was. I've been up for a while, mind you, but um I was looking at something. I'm like, oh my God, like I want to go there right now. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I want. Oh my God. And I'm like, okay, enough of that. It, like, no, it's not the right time. You can't do that right now. And I'm like, oh my God. So again, you're seeing what direction you want to go in, like, no matter what it is, long-term goals. Because if we rush into something too quickly, we can be like, oh my God, wow, I wasn't thinking that through, or it wasn't the right time, things like that. So I was seriously like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, jumped out of my astral body, and I was flying around here and there. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, already that's where you're going. Already that's what's happening, and so on and so on and so on. But you got to get through these hoops right now. You got to get certain things resolved right now to get there where you're like, you know what? Yeah. So that's what I'm just saying, right? That's why I bring up little things about what's going on with me to help you guys understand a little better. Um, so let's pull a couple of cards here with a collective to see what energies and messages are from the universe. I don't use cards with clients ever because I'm clairvoyant psychic. But of course, YouTube, we're going to pull a couple of cards for the collective. Not everyone is going to be like, that was not for me. Well, of course not. Of course not. But if you do resonate with this card, that's for you. So make sure you like my channel, make some comments, let me know what's going on. So I'm going to talk to Stephen Farmer's deck, messages from the spirits of nature. Virgo is grounding nature and so on. So anyways, let's have a little chat, shall we? What is the message for the collective from the 23rd to 29th of August? Like, oh my God, the next video I'm going to be doing is September. Like, that's insane. This year, it's sneaking up, right? 23rd to the 29th of August. What's the message from the universe? Message from the universe, from our spirit guides. Red, boom, moon cycles. Oh my gosh. This deck I'm using is not about the moon. Now, what have I been talking about? This Virgo new moon. So the universe wants you to pay attention to that, obviously, because why would this moon come down? So water here, by the way, as well, represents your emotions. So if you are by water, you're going to find that it very well could be very healing. Like a lot of empaths and sensitive people love being around the water, including me. So you can go by the water and you're going to know where your emotions are. Water is a really good place to heal. So if you're like, look at the background here at this lake. Some of you might be like, that looks a little scary or that looks a little emotional. When you look at it from that way, it shows you where your emotions are. Where some of you could be like, oh, that's just so calm and really nice. It shows you that your emotions are calm. So, water does a lot and says a lot. And you'll hear more about it too. I don't like to talk about negative events, but, I have talked about water for quite some time. It's going to come out more and more and more just how contaminated the water really is because of these so-called leaders polluting it with their energy and their activities that they've been doing. But we're not going to go on about it. It's negative. So anyways, let's have another chat. Let's have a little chat here, considering I was just talking about water. The Mist of Avalon by Rose and Sarah. Like, how many of you guys have seen this movie? Like, it's literally one of my favorite movies. There's a book, The Mist of Avalon. I've read that too. It goes back to Merlin and it's just literally, it's such a phenomenal movie with Angelique Houston. And the book is really, really good for those of you, who are into Merlin energy and everything. It's very good. So for those of you who like that type of energy and stuff, like I would highly recommend the book or watch the movie. Yeah, I don't know where you can get the movie. I don't know where you can get it. It's out there, of course, to get it, to watch it somewhere, but it's very good. So anyways, let's have a chat with the Mist of Avalon, shall we? For the 23rd to the 29th, it takes me back to my Celtic roots. Got to renew my British passport here. Used to live over in Ireland. I still have family over in England and so on. My dad was born and raised in Belfast. So moved back to Canada from Ireland. When was that? 2011. So, okay. So, excuse me. So what card fell out here? Oh, wow. The number 33 Ascended Masters. Renewal. Freedom. Authenticity. Manifestation. So you're also going to find too that a lot of, people, certain people that aren't authentic, you're going to be seeing that more and more and more and more. I observe a lot, as I always say, and I handle things differently, mind you. But you're going to find that there's certain people out there. Of course, it's going to be more exposed, more truth coming out. You're going to be like walking away from certain, like people in such situations like that you're like, you know what, I just don't resonate anymore with that, or I can't be around that for whatever reason. You're evolving, you've changed, you're going through that rebirth with the year of the snake energy, transformation, and especially with the new moon, letting people go, letting situations go, letting things go that I just can't do this anymore, and all is well with manifesting. Manifesting is super, super high, super, super high. So when I know it's a day to manifest, like, I will literally in the morning write down certain things I want to manifest again and so on, because it literally can happen the same day. Like I can tell you many times that I've manifested things very quickly. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, I wanted that, but oh my gosh. And then I'm like, Jenny, you weren't as specific. You got to be very specific. And I'm like, holy crap. Do you know what I mean? So things can really, really happen. So be very careful what you want to wish for, right? Renewal. We're moving into the autumn season, which is my favorite time. I've heard that where I'm in here in Alberta, it's supposed to be the coldest winter on record ever. And I'm like, for the rest of Canada, no. And I'm like, are you seriously kidding me? Like, but our summer here has not been a summer. It's been really cold, like my flowers. And we're not even going to talk about that. So, but you know what I'm saying? So just really, really take a look at where you are right now with this. Like, holy smokes. So let's have a little talk with the Ascended Masters, considering I heard Descended Masters come in with that. During Virtue, what is the message from them from the 23rd to the 29th of August? Wow. Right away, this card fell out. Energy healing. Some of you guys, if you look back, that's what I'm saying. Look back to the beginning of this year. Where are you now? There's some of you that have been changing your career and getting more involved with more things that you resonate with. Maybe some of you are taking healing courses, something more spiritually and aligned. Maybe some of you are doing inner healing yourself. Maybe some of you have been through a lot of different things and you're healing yourself as well. We still have Chiron energy, which is that wounded healer that's going to go on until the beginning of January. It's always here as far as I'm concerned. So when certain things are coming up from your past or different wounds, or like, oh my God, I feel really sad all of a sudden, pay attention. Is that your soul on purpose saying, you still need to heal from certain situations? And the deeper the wound, the longer it is going to take to heal. So you have to be very gentle with yourself and show yourself compassion, especially when, you've been through a very traumatic time, which most of us have been realistically, but we have our own experiences. We deal and cope through things in our own way. So as I always say, I wear sunglasses a lot whenever I'm out, you know, and it's like, because especially when I'm feeling, a little emotional, it's like if I start tearing up, I'll put my sunglasses on, even if I'm in a store. People are like, she's got her sunglasses on. Like, I don't care. But so just go in your own rhythm. Maybe some of you need like acupuncture, like a natural healing, clearing, certain things like that. Really pay attention to what you're getting drawn to, because if our chakras are out of alignment, can cause issues. Whenever our body is going through a big transition, life changes, the eclipse, God be with me. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's just really important just to surrender and do certain things, that are in alignment. We have the Eastern medicine and the Western medicine. I use both. If I was going to acupuncture, I'd go to an Eastern doctor, Eastern medicine. If I had like a heart problem, I would go to a Western doctor, like a doctor, not to like an energy healer. No, that's just me. Because there's certain, that's why it's that balance. We need the both of them in the world. But there's certain things that you have to listen to with your intuition too. I argue with my doctors. I sent text one of them and I'm like, you got to call me right now. Like, seriously, I'm not, he did the next morning, but anyways, I'm just saying, really listen to your intuition and so on and so on. And let me know what's going on with you guys, you know. So how many of you are subscribed to my channel? How many of you have liked my channel? How many of you have made comments? And how many of you are going to join me right here on YouTube live? Friday, September the 12th, 12 noon Mountain Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, to join me to get a free psychic clairvoyant reading. I'm going to be here. So until next time, you guys, namaste. You want to book a reading with me? soulworkwithjenny.com.